Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. Scott McMicken on Dr. Dog and his partnership with Toby Leaman.
So, can we go back 30 years ago and talk about your songwriting partnership with Toby Leaman? Do you think you were more Lennon McCartney or more Jagger Richards in as much as Lennon McCartney wrote their own songs, but they were Lennon McCartney songs with the Beatles, whereas Jagger Richards, one wrote lyrics, one wrote music. They collaborated more, I guess. How do you feel your relationship was with him?
Oh man, yeah, I think we were Jagger Richards for about 6 months. When we first met in eighth grade, Toby didn't play an instrument yet, and so I played guitar, and so I'd strum chords, and he'd make up melodies and words. But then, as soon as he got a bass, about not even 6 months, 3 months after we met, he started going off on his own and writing his own songs, and we stopped collaborating on songwriting. And we've never collaborated on songwriting since after
Okay.
those 3 months in eighth grade or whatever.
I thought that I thought it was listed as either Dr. Dog or the two of you as songwriting credits on the albums.
Well, yeah, we just decided to kind of like that was more almost like like a business decision or whatever, like
Right.
that our publishing would be shared. If I
Right.
wrote a song, he's half of it. If he wrote
Right.
a song, I'm half of it. And that ethos of sort of egalitarianism has been prevalent throughout Dr. Dog since the start. And but yeah, we never I mean, it's safe to say we basically never sit down and write songs together. And I've thought a lot about that. There was a time where I thought the fact that we don't do that, or that when we try to do that, we fail, felt to me like a shortcoming in our partnership on some level. But over the years, I've realized that's just how we work. Like, we both are sort of, uh, I don't know, I guess we just both sort of occupy the songwriting process in a similar and sort of interpersonal way, not like in a precious way or guarded way, but just more in practice. Like, we're just used to doing it a certain way. And when we've tried to pair ourselves in that process, it just seems like neither of us quite know how to be ourselves. It's like a watered down version of both of us is what we get out of coming together. So we've just always written separately, and then of course we obviously have a lot of input on one another's tunes in terms of what's worth pursuing, what isn't, what might need some more work, or how to approach the arrangement or the vibe of the recording or whatever. We have obviously a huge amount of collaboration there, but yeah, we've never barely ever written together.
So, where is Dr. Dog right now?
Well, so yeah, we stopped touring. Was it last year?
Yeah,
Year?
22, right?
Yeah,
So last year.
but not last fall.
I know
Or
you had
was
the
it
New Year's
21?
shows, New
Was it
Year's Eve.
21? It was Lockin'. It was whenever Goose played Lockin'.
Yeah, I think it was 21
So I think
actually.
that was 21, yeah.
Fall of 21 was our last tour, and then a run of New Year's Eve shows at the end of 21 in Philly was our final shows. And that was something we had been talking about for a while. It just sort of, you could, at a certain point, you could just, not at a certain point, this all happened in a sort of slow, nebulous way over like a year of us realizing, like, I think that there's a need to change something about the structure of the way we're living our lives in the band. And it wasn't motivated by a reaction against anything that was going on, but a growing sense that we were denying ourselves openness to other things happening in our lives, not just artistically, but with family and everything. And so, we started to talk about that, and then made a plan to stop touring. And actually, the tour we completed a tour. The lockdown and COVID and all that happened around March of 2020. We completed a tour about a week before that. We just threaded the needle on that. We got through a whole tour that winter finished our last show, and then like a week later it was locked down. But in our minds, that was our last tour. We hadn't announced it as such, but in our minds, that was our last real tour. And then we had some festivals booked for that summer, and we were planning on doing a small run of shows as well, maybe later in that summer. And of course, all that got canceled. And so then by the next year, by 2021, when we were able to consider putting another tour together, we just decided to do a whole other tour again, call it our last tour. I say all that because I just felt so lucky as a musician during the pandemic in that A, we had just finished our tour and didn't have to cancel anything. And B, we were already psychologically preparing ourselves for life without being on tour. So when the pandemic hit, in many ways, it was just us living the way we thought we might have been living anyway. I mean, aside from the horrors of the pandemic and stuff, just in terms of like your expectations about like, we were ready to not be on the road. And so the fact that that went away didn't rumple our feathers at all, you know? And so we were lucky in that regard. And then we did the tour when we could, and it all went wonderfully. And then since then, we've all just had all this time. And I feel like, I know for myself, it's been a game changer a couple years, just being able to have all this time and this new sort of focus and on new ways of doing things and working with new people has taught me so much. It's taught me a lot about Dr. Dog even. I mean, we've been a sort of fiercely loyal band for so long. You talk about the Jagger and Richards thing. Like, I feel like we, especially Toby and I, there was this sort of period you started to notice around like the mid 2000s or whatever, where like the idea of being a musician meant you were in like 5 bands or something. And it seemed like everybody had this idea where it's like, well, I want to kind of do this one thing, so I'll have this band. I want to kind of do this other thing, and I'll have this band, and I'll just sort of roll the dice, hope one of these things like works out, you know? We were watching that happen, and I remember we used that sort of trend in indie culture or whatever as like a way to assert our own identities as fiercely loyal to being in one band and viewing ourselves as this like really tight operation. And so, you know, that said, years and years, Dr. Dog is the only outlet really. I mean, I always make things at home on like a little home recording thing and have put out a couple things like that, but it's like 50 people know about it. I've never like invested myself in any sort of outside a Dr. Dog thing, nor has Toby. And so even that fact is like big difference for he and I. And I know for me, it's been really rewarding, and it's taught me even a lot about sort of the essence of Dr. Dog in a lot of ways. And the same for Toby. I feel like when he and I talk these days about what the two of us are up to independently, it actually only fuels our same shared bond and enthusiasm for music amongst ourselves in our friendship. So, so, and then we're going to do an album like sometime this summer, another Dr. Dog album sometime this summer. And I'm really excited about that. And that's about it. I mean, yeah, we're just sort of like planning to do another album and also just like soaking up all this time to see what else life offers outside of being beholden to that structure that we were in for so long of make a record, wait a few months, tour, wait a few months, make a record, tour, on, 25 years or whatever.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.